think about it.
Sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good quality until you're trying to impose your will, so to speak, on somebody. Maybe you're the kind of person you should do that to. Some people, you know, look.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good mentality to have in the mob.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because look, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities, some multiple personalities. But, in general, like I said, you're dealing with a lot of different people. There are people, you got to remember, they're just regular guys. It's a job to them. Then there's guys who enjoy their work, you know? And then there's the ones that are just a whole different level of ball game. And, they just, don't mind, like, chopping people up and putting them in a suitcase. Everybody's different.
Well, you're talking about an extreme there.
Right. But that's the truth. I mean, they go from one extreme to the other. You got guys who are just, nice guys who are good business earners, capable guys that stay very low key and, don't get, out of line. Then you get people who are cowboys and just crazy running around, don't care. They have no regard for any of it.
I tell you, I talk about family that I got that, I'm okay with it. They can't talk to me, whatever.
Right.
The Regos, I tell you, love the Regos. Those are like my real cousins. There's a real, not like somebody calling you cuz.
Right, exactly. Not our own self-made families, but real blood.
So I remember I'm going back probably, I don't even think in the 80s, probably late 70s, early 80s. Well, growing up, I had like an artistic ability. I could draw. You're laughing.
I'm not laughing yet.
Okay. So anyway.
Notice I say yet.
So anyway, as I'm going to Catholic school, I'm drawing different projects and stuff. So one of the nuns contacts my mother and says, "Hey, I think he has an artistic ability. He knows how to draw." But anyways, it came time where I started getting more interested in it. I started taking art lessons. And I was working with pastels and I was painting and doing all these things, right? So Sister Patrick says, you need to pursue this. So what happened was, instead of going to the route was to go to like LaSalle Academy or something like that, I went to the High School of Art and Design. It was on 3rd Avenue and 57th Street, uptown Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And art and design was like a tough school to get into.
Right, it was like going to Juilliard for
right,
music.
so you got to take these tests and all that stuff to get in, right? So they only would select so many out of so many and all this other stuff. So I went there, they sent me there, and I took all these, my grades were good, barely, right? But the artwork that I was putting out, I get accepted to the school. Full scholarship.
Okay.
All paid, no expense. They said 4 years, no problem. So it was like a big deal. So I go over and, I got whatever. So here's what I'm getting at, is the Regos, Robert Rego and Gregory Rego, their father, gets stabbed. He was walking home on Mulberry Street in his building.
Just random or?
Random.
Or was it for nothing?
Not for nothing. The guy was a working guy.
Civilian?
No, civilian, total civilian. I mean, he was a street guy. Like,
right.
He knew right from wrong.
Well, look, everybody in the neighborhood, whether, civilian or member, knows the terrain.
What had happened was he gets stabbed in his chest. Gets sent to the hospital. There was a guy in the building. He got a description of him, what he looked like, but didn't catch the guy. And it came time where, the cops were involved and everything. And I remember my cousin coming to me saying if I could do a sketch for them, or what the guy looked like for the police. In other words, like, see what.
Right.
And I remember talking to the father, and he was like describing. And I came up with this, like these sketches of what the person would look like. I remember that when I was a kid. And they made copies up. I guess they put them all over the place. I forget what the outcome was. I got to find out. I don't know if they caught the guy, they didn't catch him, or if they arrested him, or if they found him dead. I don't know what happened to the guy. But I remember that being able to to draw like that came in handy. But interesting story, when I go to art and design, I'm thinking I'm there with all these, you know, Upper East Side, Manhattan, kids learning how to be architects. And
Right.
it was all graffiti artists. Not that I'm saying they didn't have any artistic ability, right? But it was more gangs and artists and going there and tagging trains. They called it tagging, right? Matter of fact, you know who went to that school? Who's the guy? It's like a popular thing. I can't think of the name, but you ever see these images that are drawn like outlines of people? Famous artists, street artists. He went around. He used to go around my neighborhood.
Keith Haring?
Yeah, that's it.
He passed away a while back.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, my son likes him, who's funny because, you know, he's young. He's only 25. He's got a tattoo, a Keith Haring tattoo.
Well, Keith Haring, I remember he used to go.
He was an artist in New York. He did a lot of artwork. He did clothes. He did, you know, this stuff's still bouncing around. Some of it's worth a lot of money. It's collectible.
Well, he went to that school. I know him. And he used to go around down my neighborhood all over the place and go with a spray can and go tag those outlines of like, I don't know what you call them, but it's a famous thing. So my point is what I'm saying, I went in there, I got into a couple of fights, and then I'm learning, you know, I'm trying to make it in there, and then somebody gets shot in the middle of the school. They got to shut the school down and everything. So here I am, I'm back to LaSalle Academy from there. But what happened was the art, it never goes away, because when I went to the can this time, right, this time around, I got stuff I was drawing for my kids. They still got it. I would buy the napkins out of, you know, like the real, not the napkins, little handkerchiefs, the real handkerchiefs. I buy them out of the commissary.
The cotton ones.
Right. I would get the iron and iron them out, take all the creases out. And what I would do is I would first decide what I'm going to sketch. Then I would go with a pencil first on there. Then after that, I would either do like, you know, I had special pens or whatever the case was. And I would do the portrait. And then from there, to keep it, I would get the wax that you put on the floor for the...
the mop and glow.
Right. I would get that and put a coat of wax on it so it would seal it. I would send it to my kids. And they still got all the stuff that I did in there. Yeah, it passes time. But it's really therapeutic, you know? It's not like you're Bob Ross. You remember that Bob Ross show?
I love that Bob Ross show.
Yeah.
That was the best naps you could get in the afternoon watching that.
Yeah, right?
He had that real monotone, level voice. He'd be like, "In the little trees is your world." You put it in your alcohol.
So I was really getting like, I could draw like anything. So they would send me pictures. My kids would send me pictures. Portraits are harder. You know, the portraits are, you know, when you're drawing people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, my kids, if they were interested in something, I would paint them, you know, like if they liked the horses or, you know, lions and, you know, all different things. But they still got them. And, you know, it's a shame because the only time you really do stuff like that is when you got time.
Right.
Now I come out. My daughter asked me the other day, she goes, "Dad, you still draw?" I said, "I haven't drawn since I was on vacation."
Right, I got no time.
She goes, "You draw me?" I says, "Well, yeah, I'll do it for you." You know, back then I would do it right away. Because you got time.
Right.
Now you just look, you say, where'd the time go? Right? But I really love it. You know, getting involved with canvases and painting and all that stuff. You didn't know that.
No.
You didn't know that about me, right?
No. That's a new one.
Yeah, I was an artist.
No. That's
I mean, we're not an official artist.
Well, I know, but that's a new one. You just have the ability and the talent because it's a hard thing to do.
And then, you know, you get very creative. You start thinking. You know, I like to do abstract stuff. Sometimes I'll go black and white, where, you know, the way the picture is, I'll go exactly what it is. But then you get this abstract thinking where you start going. You know, you start making your own version of things. That's where the true artistic abilities come out.
Absolutely.
You know? No, it's interesting. That and chess.
No, yeah. A lot of those graffiti artists, though, a few of them crossed into mainstream and did really well.
Oh, no, they were good. I mean, they could freehand. I mean, you talk about some of the artists I even met in the can, they could freehand a tattoo.
Well, have you ever seen the
Freestyle.
videos on YouTube where the guy like hands him a laptop or a jacket, goes, "Could you spray paint this for me?" In 10 minutes, it creates a work of art with spray paint, some newspaper, you know, a lighter, and he's just...
I've seen those, yeah.
It's phenomenal because I don't have that ability to do that. And to me, I just watch it in amazement.
We know what that is. That's airbrushing.
Yeah, but they do it with regular spray paint cans and
Airbrush.
and tissue, and they tape off like a back of a
They
jacket
put a little
or
temp
a
line
purse.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, they just tape it off, you know, the borders, and they just do it like that. There's, you know, these artists, and you just look at that and go, you know, the ability is phenomenal. The artwork is beautiful, and you're like, how is this guy, you know, selling this on the street for $20? I'll paint your laptop, for, you know, and you're going, the guy's a genius artist. Why isn't he like, you know, famous and making money? And that's when you realize artists don't make money till they die usually.
Yeah, you're right. But that Keith Haring,
Yeah. Well, but he passed away. And I know, like that Banksy's like the next one that came out.
Who?
Banksy.
I don't
He's
know.
an urban artist all over. Nobody knows who he is. And he just...
Well, Keith Haring, they didn't know who he was for years.
Yeah, like he's those black and white pictures, like the girl with the balloon and stuff, and all kinds of political type things and different things. Not only here, but he was in Europe too.
Well, Keith Haring, for a long time, nobody knew who he was.
No.
He was just going around with a spray can.
Yeah, well, you know, they were doing illegal stuff. People get arrested for it. So you can't let people know who you are when you're doing that. They know who you are by your street name, but not by, you know, they don't know who you really are.
I tell you, those were the days. If you knew then what you know now, you know, Punch Out Nintendo, the Mike Tyson Punch Out Nintendo, right? One just sold for like 80-some thousand.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, it was a $10 game. Yeah.
$10 game that you had laying on your shelf like nothing. Keith Haring, I remember being hanging out in that school with him. It's like, who knew?
Right.
You have that guy sign everything you had,
Right.
you know?
Just start accumulating his drawings.
Right. When we talk about, you go back to the neighborhood, and you talk about the restaurants. I mean, you know, the cafes alone. I mean, you really only have like 2 or 3 cafes that are left. You know, like the last of the Mohegans.
Right.
You know, Cafe Napoli is an institution, that place. Around the corner, Hester and Mulberry. You've got another one, Cafe Roma on Broome and Mulberry. Then you got Cafe Palermo on Mulberry between Grand and Hester. You know, going back when I talk about those days and then you start going to like, you know, you're getting in trouble and you're bouncing, you're getting in trouble in school and stuff. You don't know if you're going to stay in school. It's my buddy Georgie. We used to call him Fat Georgie. He's not fat anymore. So we had a guy that grew up in our neighborhood. Well, you know O'Neill, Pellicroce, right? So O'Neill married a woman. Last name was Riccardi. Mary Riccardi. Maria, Mary. He has a son, Buddy. You ever heard of him?
Not that I could think of.
Yeah, he had a son, Buddy. Then he had a daughter, Tony Ann, but with a different girl. So his club was on 247 Mulberry, but then on 232, I think it was 232 or 234 Mulberry is where Buddy grew up. His mother lived there, O'Neill's wife, and then eventually his ex-wife. Because then he moved to Staten Island on Fingerboard
Road.
Okay, so you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's where he lived. So anyway, Buddy grew up in my neighborhood. You know, so Buddy would be probably, right now, if he was alive, he'd probably be early 70s. So he probably had a good 12 to 15 years on me. So he was like the older generation. So Buddy opened up a candy store called Buddy's. And George used to run it for him.
In the neighborhood?
Right in the neighborhood. Right on Mulberry right next door to where his O'Neill's sister, Lucy, she was like paralyzed and she lived on the ground floor. She was always out the window yelling at everybody. I remember Lucy. Anyway, he opened up a candy store. And that's when all the games first came out. Space Invaders.
Miss Harry's and stuff, yeah.
Missile Command. What was the other one? All the like,
Well,
you know,
Tetris, that all the basic startup games.
yeah, the games that, you know, people chase today, right? The retro games. So it was like the hot place. You had a jukebox in there, you know, all the kids were hanging out, you know, and it was the place to be.
Like an arcade.
Yeah. Buddy's candy store. He had a whole bunch of candy in the back, and he had Georgie running it. Georgie was like a little bookmaker for him. He loved Georgie. I mean, O'Neill and Buddy loved Georgie. I keep saying it till today. If Georgie's half Polish, half Italian. Mother's Italian and the father's Polish. Great people, good family. I mean, just a known family for the neighborhood that, again, they give it a shirt off their back. Good-hearted people. And if it was the other way around where they say, you know, your father has to be Italian, Georgie be made like that. Wouldn't even be a question about it. Anyway, Buddy's, I don't know what happened to the store. It closed, right? But we will always be like the kids from the neighborhood. Let's say if Buddy got into an argument, or like if some outsider came to the store or whatever, and it came to be like the neighborhood had to jump in, we would always jump in for him. I remember a couple times there was fights that broke out, Buddy arguing with somebody, and there's maybe 2 or 3 of them, and all the kids have to, you know, everyone wants to help. We'd all jump for him.
The dog pile.
Yeah, we'd all jump for him. Buddy was like, you know, he was
the neighborhood guy. Like he was the candy store arcade guy. You got to take care of him.
No, plus 2, he took care of all the kids. Like he was a very good-hearted Buddy.
Oh yeah,
you know, he was very good-hearted. Like, you know, he was an older kid. He took care of everybody. The father, you know, when his doors to that club were always open. Like if we were playing in the street, like with the fire hydrants, you know, when you open up the Johnny Pump.
Yeah,
it's a hot summer day.
Yeah, I remember well. We used to get in so much trouble with that.
Oh yeah. So Mike D used to run the club back then. And
you get the can, you cut the bottom out of the can.
Yeah, the coffee cans, yeah.
God forbid, like a bus came by with a window open, we just filled the bus with water.
So I'll never forget, I used to live around the corner from the Ravenite, right? And walking to school on the corner next to the Ravenite, on the corner of Mulberry and Prince, there was a chicken market, like a Chinese chicken.
Like live chicken? Like a poultry market?
Poultry market.
Yeah, they had one in Brooklyn on Utrecht Avenue.
Bro, the smell.
I think they still got it.
The smell was terrible. You hear all the screaming with the chickens, you know? You're walking by there, you hear, you know, feathers flying all over the place. I see people walking out with bags, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It would be on any given day. It's a hot day out, you know? You're running in the streets, playing with playing with all your friends. Neil's doors were always open. You know, you would see him pull up in the big, the old school town cars. Pull up. Well, it's Mr. Neil's car, you know? So we knew to like, you know, when the car's coming by, you're sitting on the
right, you're sitting on the water. You ain't getting his car wet. Yeah.
But you know what? There was always like a cold soda waiting for you, or like a cold Manhattan special. You know, if you're walking by, you'd be sitting there at the table. He'd wave you in, you know, a bunch of kids. And there's Mike D's popping the sodas and handing them to everybody, you know.
Oh, that's funny you bring up the hat specials. My cousin Joey calls me up the other day, we're talking. He's like, they're flat now. I'm like, what's flat? He goes, Manhattan specials, they're flat now. He goes, they stopped making them in Brooklyn, like Coke or Pepsi. Somebody bought them, and they make them like in Pennsylvania somewhere. And he goes, they taste the same. They don't put enough carbonation. He's like, you remember they used to open one and thing would blow up because it had so much carbonation in it. That's his biggest complaint. I'm like, bro, that should be the worst problem. Yeah.
So what I'm getting at with Buddy is he was getting in trouble in the neighborhood and stuff. And the wise guy to the neighborhood back then was, Mikey Catalana was like the wise guy of that block.
Mm-hmm.
Half the block was really Gambino. The other half was Genovese. The other guy was Pete DeFeo. So those 2 names were the biggest names on Mulberry between Spring and Prince. Buddy, I got to say, he was always good-hearted. He wasn't a Mad Hatter, but he was a tough guy. You know what I mean? He wouldn't back down, he'd fight. It was O'Neill's son. You know, right away, it's...
Right. You ain't winning the argument.
And then what happened was there was a time where he got married to this girl. He moved to Fort Lee, New Jersey. And he would drive in from there, hang out in the neighborhood. Fort Lee was the spot. I don't know if it is today.
I don't know.
There was a hot dog joint there. Remember?
When they deep fry the hot dogs.
Callahan's.
The Rippers or something they call them.
The name of the place was Callahan's,
Yeah, they
right?
throw them in the deep fryer until they pop.
All right, so you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. We used to drive all the way to Coney Island to go to Nathan's just to get hot dogs.
All right, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we go on trips, road trips for lunch, like it's because we had nothing to do. Like we just go spend the day driving around, bouncing around different places.
It's like the Italian Food Network.
Right, exactly.
So anyway,
I told you, we're gonna do the spinoff: 2 egg rolls and a Coke.
Anyways, Buddy, what had happened was he got indicted on the same case as John Gotti. The difference was John Gotti stood there and fought the case. I think he actually beat it. And Buddy took off on the lam.
He beat all of them but the last one.
He pled guilty. I think Buddy took a plea without checking in. I'm not a Gambino expert. I don't claim to be, but I did know Buddy and his family, you know, from growing up in the neighborhood. What had happened was when he OD'd, he died. He died of AIDS. The one girl, this guy had more girls than anybody. To the point where you say, where's this guy getting this libido from?
Right.
He had a libido like nobody's business. And forget their names. So, you know, there'd be like 2 or 3 girls there that he, just forget their names.
Right.
That's how many girls came at him. So, but the one girl that he fell for had she was a big drug addict.
Ooh.
And I think she was part of the downfall. She got him hooked. I don't know.
Back then, yeah, that had happened too, but and a lot of it passed it around. I know a couple of people that got it from drugs.
So anyway, Buddy goes on the lam. Neil's sister. He comes back on the lam. He wants to grab money. You know, she gives him whatever the father left behind. He went through the money. There was like a couple million. Anyways, he ODs. Dies of AIDS, he ODs. I don't know what the particulars were. But what I do know is, again, they laid him out in Gadetti's. And everybody from the Gambino family was told not to go. Pay their respects. I went, and the people from the neighborhood went. Because, you know, I knew his mother.
Well, and you don't answer to Gambinos.
And plus, I knew his family personally. You know, I didn't know him as, like you said, I had no affiliation with the Gambino family.
Right.
You know? So people that knew his family, like his mother and his sister, and you know, that were from Mulberry Street, went to the wake. Pete DeFeo went. You know, everybody that knew Buddy growing up. It was a shame because you know what? He could have had. Well, from what I understand, when you bring up Spark Steakhouse, I understand something that they were using Buddy for the meeting. Like in other words, he was there, Buddy. Like, in other words, he didn't know, I don't know if he knew what was going to go down or what was planned.
He was the wait and see guy?
No, something I heard if, like, in other words, Paul Castellano, when O'Neill died, he didn't go to the wake.
There was a lot of weird stuff.
A lot of stories. And then something to the effect that we're going to tell him that you're upset about them not showing up to your father's wake. Whatever the case. I forget exactly how it was done. But, yeah, Buddy was in the restaurant. He was inside the place, I heard, in Sparks.
Yeah, I remember hearing there was somebody that was set to be there to meet, was the original ploy to get him there was to meet, and was sitting in there just in case it didn't go well outside, that there was actually legitimately somebody there to meet with him that was supposed to be there.
I think Buddy was one of them, or I don't know if it was the sole reason why. But there's a lot of other guys out there that have podcasts that would know a lot better than I do. I don't claim. If it was Lucchese stuff, then yeah, I'm going to put claim on that.
Right, but that one wasn't.
No. So anyways, not to veer off into that, but Buddy was good.
I'm familiar with it. Like I said, I knew some people that were related to Tommy, Bilotti, and those guys. But
I guess the point I'm trying to make is Buddy was good. Buddy was a good guy. You know, you remember him from the neighborhood, whether he did right, wrong, or whatever. And the Gambino's eyes, you know, we from the neighborhood know him as Buddy. You know, Neil's son. I tell you, this place is nuts. You know, we got some very
He's got the
heavily. Listen, we got some very heavily talented people in here, and they just keep coming up with ideas. And this is the problem here. But we can't make our minds up. You know what I mean? You gotta troll. Like I got my daughter. They gave me this cup here. I told you.
Yeah.
Proud dad. Today we got
Little Vito the bareback.
Vito the bear.
Yeah. I don't know where'd he go.
Anyway, you're gonna head out before me, right?
Probably, yeah.
So we're going to the same area.
Yeah.
Well, you got things to do. You're a busy guy.
Yeah. Always got something to do.
Listen, I'll see you when I see you.
All right. We'll see you when I see you.
Okay, bye.
Have a good night.